Wind.
Alright, good morning, good evening, and afternoon, everyone. I am your wandering guide, Luke, and welcome to episode 9 of Wanderer's Guide to Esterra. Episode 9 of this thing. It has been a hot minute. Mostly through my own laziness, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, right at the top. Things to go over. First of all, if you're planning on still doing your downtime submissions, too bad, they're closed. They've been closed for a while now. Deal with it. Sorry to be harsh about it, but it is what it is. Don't ask for them to reopen. Don't ask to quickly get one in. It's not going to happen. It's closed. Number 2, not downtime submissions. Sorry, character submissions are open. They're not going to be open forever, so get your character submitted if you haven't done that already. Assuming you have anything to do. It's your business, but make sure if you're going to do it, and you get it done ASAP. Number 3, Concord tickets. Buy them beforehand. Get that done. I believe I have a feeling all of the $100 tickets are all gone. There are tickets remaining of the $130 price. Better get those quick before those are gone. And because otherwise you're going to be left with the $175 ticket, and that's all that's going to be left. So buy them, get it done. Also, Hotel Concord. If you find Sam Bowden's post on the Facebook group, it'll be the newest one. It will mention how to book your Hotel Concord tents and stretchers and such. It is not commenting on his posts or messaging him directly through Facebook Messenger. There is a email set up that you basically email through into what you're after and booking and all that jazz. Again, read the post. All the information is there. Thirdly, well, not thirdly, like fourth or fifth at this point. I've lost count. I will reveal now. I was thinking about saving it halfway through the episode, the end, and just being that guy. But no, I'll give it to you now. The guest I will be having for next episode, and indeed I will also be sort of sorting out what that episode's exactly going to be. The guest for episode 10 is none other than our own delightful friend, without whom we would not have Concord. Our own Michael Harris, Skittles, will be joining me. I wanted to have him on pretty much since I first thought about doing this. And he reached out to me a couple months ago about jumping on. And I said, well, sure. Definitely want that to happen. Just so happens, episode 10 coming up. So saved it for that. So yeah, it's Skittles. I don't know when that episode's going to happen. Hopefully it won't be too many weeks after this one. Yeah. Skittles. But, actually, no, I imagine a lot of people probably guessed it was going to be Skittles. Honestly, it was a very good guess. And yes, that is the majority of the, I believe, things and announcements that I need to give at this time. Yeah, and obviously anyone watching, listening, whatever, to this live, if there's any tech weirdness going on, just drop it in the chat, let me know. If I can fix it, I will. Otherwise, yeah, here's what it is. So, with all of that, we kick in to this. We're going to be talking about Cakenomics today, and I found it appropriate to get on someone that, along with myself, is in the Cakenomics game, to sort of go over their own experiences with Cakenomics, and different ventures, and sort of just chin wagging about the getting money game in Concord through this particular medium. But however, I will allow my guest to introduce himself. Welcome.
Hey, how you going? For those that don't know, I am
Jonathan. Johnny, Jono, or anything goes really. Let's see. I play Erdwolf at Concord. I am the humble farmer, the what's the word? The owner of the the Iron Stomach, and I am the ambassador to the Dender.
Oh shit! Really? It's you?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's me.
Okay. Did not know that. We're gonna have talks at some point.
Meet me at training. I'll be there.
God, I love learning new crap on the show.
Yeah, no, look, it was a very interesting game yesterday. Not yesterday. Last game was very interesting. I put my hand up to be senator. My opinion has always been, if there is no one that I feel comfortable with being senator, then I would step forward and put my hand up for that position. And I was happy with the senators that were chosen in the Iron Valley, and it was good, and I was able to then pursue. Yeah, I was able to pursue relations with the Dendar and the Dendari people, because I'm really interested about in that nation and the politics with all of them.
Absolutely.
But as we'll learn, engaging in Cakenomics is a full-time job at Concord.
It is a veritable and variable slider of effort. Very much so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Cakenomics. Really basic overview is, the simplest term is, Cakenomics is kind of microtransaction-y, pay-to-win-ish sort of thing. There is a limit. Roughly it stands now at $150 / the price of a premium ticket. That's gotten a little squiggly in the past year or so. Like, the way the premium tickets have been modeled are a little weird. But generally, yeah, around $150 real world dollars in spending on things that you can then bring into the game and sell for coin, rather than things you gain in-game and then sell in-game. You know, artisan items, potions, herbs, measures, grains, services, all that jazz. Yeah, some of us make alcohol. Some people make snacks and other general foods. Some people make, clothing or trinkets or what's the I've forgotten what the word is. The
Painting?
No. Like other, like not clothing, but like things you put, accessories. That's the word I want.
Oh. Yes.
Okay, all right, that hurt. I think a brain cell just sacrificed itself to the fire. That's fine. Yeah, so yeah, all of that in hopes to gain more money. Basically, it's all get money gang. Basically, what you do with the money is up to you. But generally, yeah, various different ways of doing things. So. For basic example, I myself got into brewing alcohol. I have mainly been brewing mead thus far. I'm probably going to get into other kinds of brewing as time goes on, and as I shift to different characters, depending on things that happens, and deaths and retirements and all that sort. But John, you do food, don't you? In quite a prolific sense.
Yeah, so I run and am the owner of the Iron Stomach. I've got a really cool wooden sign that I very much appreciate. I do sausage sizzles for most of the day and the night, and in the morning times, at least in the last 2 summits, I've done a few pancakes because I figured in the morning people might not want greasy sausage. But that might change with the new schedule timetable. So if you guys aren't aware, the schedule has changed where the big confluxes are right from game in, from 9 to whenever the conflux starts. So the NPCs basically just get into NPC kit and go off, and then the players, when it's game in and they wake up and they're out, then they have to then organize for the conflux. So there might not be as much in-game time to do pancakes, but I'll see what it's like. I'll see what happens. I've got my sister there that can help out, and she doesn't generally engage in the confluxes, so she might help in that aspect. But yeah, I do sausage sizzle, and then my sister Jennifer, she is next to me with her kids, and they do coffees and teas and lemonades and
so
brownies and cookies and all that kind of stuff.
Excellent. So, I guess lead into sort of the next really big question: why in particular did you get into the Cakenomics side of things?
Well, I've been playing from game one. I've been playing my character from game one, and honestly, I will tell you the first time I fell in love with Concord. And it was, I was always going to go because I was like, it's going to be interesting. I'll see how it goes. I was doing Shattered World at the time, like most people. And, I'd known Skittles and been a part of a lot of the LARPs that he's been involved in for a very long time. And I was going to attend Concord. And then there was a video posted about the currency, and Skittles had this big wooden box of coins, and he just dipped his hand into this box of coins. It was all keys, and he just sort of like picked up a handful and then just picked them up and then dropped them into the box, and it made that really nice clinking sound as you think treasure sort of makes. And I was just immediately from then on, I was like, I've got the dragon sickness. I need to get as much money as possible. I instantly fell in love that this game has its own money system, and that it all makes sense, and that the game runners were really investing a lot of money and effort into the economy side of things. And I absolutely fell in love at that moment. And most everything that I've done in my game has been focused around the economy side of things, because like the coins are so beautiful. I love the names, how they've got keys, locks, and then vaults, and they just sort of work so well together. And it's just a perfect storm for me. Where as soon as I saw that, it was love at first sight, and I was like, I want to have a coin purse that jingles when you walk around.
I get that. I absolutely get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like, the second I heard, it's keys, locks, bolts, like, oh, perfect name set up. Because Empire has, I think it's rings, crowns, and thrones.
Yeah.
So theirs sort of has that natural progression as well, but like, I think, personally, I like ours more.
I would have to agree. It also, so for those of you that don't know, there are 10 keys to a lock and 30 locks to a vault. However, in the Empire system, there's 8 rings to a crown. No, there's 20 rings, my mistake. 20 rings to a crown, and then 8 crowns to a throne. So it's really hard.
Okay.
It's really hard doing the math in terms of, I have 100 thrones. How much is that in rings? Whereas, if you have, 10 vaults, you would have, 300.
300
keys, 300 locks. Sorry, you'd have 300 locks, and then you'd have 3,000 keys.
Yep.
So it's really easy to do the math in the Concord system because, at least from keys to locks, it's just a straight 10, which is what we use every day because we use dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just love the currency, love the money, love the whole idea of everything.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely made like obviously you could have just said like, no, you can't bring outside game stuff and then sell it in. It would have just been an economy based on Wayne's measures, services, and then your artisan items, your herbs or potions and such. Like crystal matter, of course. And that would have been its own. I think looking at the world where that would have been economy, I think that still would have also been really interesting because it would have been a lot tighter.
Yeah, money wouldn't have flowed as much, and like because we've done kind of economies in previous games, and they've never quite worked as well as they do in Concord. And I think that a large portion of that is because even if you don't have these resources like herbs and potions and artisan crafts, if you don't have that, then you can still bring something and make money. Whereas if you don't have that, people will be a lot more tight-fisted their coins because it's like, I want to spend it for the best potions and all that. But if there's like, it's like, oh yeah, I want to buy a sausage, I want to buy a toasty, I want to buy, a lolly jar. And it's, yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely like having Cakenomics in place to enable a more diverse marketplace for various things. And definitely having that that monetary restriction to stop people from going hell. I mean, I'd say restriction. It's not even really a light restriction. It's more of like a pseudo soft restriction because it is, as it says on the wiki, it does say if what you're doing is bigger, contact the team and we'll try and organize and work out something where you can kind of do what it is you want to do, and it's still going to be fair and done, in that fair way, which is great. It's great that door is open for that. Yeah.
And another amazing thing about the Cakenomics is that it's open for everyone. Whereas when you go out to fight, you have to be physically able to fight, and there are some people that aren't able to physically fight. But if you're a merchant, selling goods or services, then you don't have to be able to run around and hit people with a sword. You don't have to engage with that kind of thing. You can just sort of sit down in a booth and sell your wares, or go around to people and sell your wares, and all of that kind of thing. Another thing that I want to talk about as well is that it isn't just selling things that you've made, but it's also selling your services. So if you are really good at singing, or if you're really good at playing an instrument, or if you're really good at painting or drawing, you can go around and sell those services for money. And I've seen a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And it's great.
The best example of that is our own, I don't want to say like first bard, but I guess like first one to really make a name for herself, being Emily. Emily Spencer, who's Anna Marie, of Lorena, who was paid in Concordian coin to write and then perform I guess ballad, an almost lament in a way, of one of the first like big Concord deaths, being Lord Oscar Clovis.
Yeah.
And that was nuts because apparently it was like his death happened, and then some time passed. She got all in the same summit. She got approached for the job, took the job, got paid, wrote it, and it was like being performed basically the next night.
Yeah.
It was wild. It's absolutely wild.
She is very talented, and there are so many other like talented bards out there. that do similar things, and I think it's amazing, and it brings such variety to the game, where you can, buy or pay a minstrel to come and do a performance. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, it just makes the game, as you say, it makes it so much more lively and interesting and different. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of my great joys is just walking down one of those main streets and just hearing people sing and perform, and like knowing like, oh, down that street is someone doing a painting of sort of like a landscape painting of just looking at the street as a view from their tent, and like all these really cool stuff that's like you wouldn't think like, like, oh, people wouldn't buy that, surely. No, they do, because it's cool. Like, you're not going to get that anywhere else. In a way, it's almost bespoke. Like, you're not going to get that anywhere else. You just won't. It's wild.
100%. And that I like one thing that I really want to get done, because I am not talented in the terms of like drawing and painting, and so I would love, when I improve my kit a little bit more, because I'm trying to up it every game, but I want to get like a drawing commissioned of my character, because I like my character and I want to remember it, and not just in game, but have like, when I'm at home sitting on my computer, I can look at that picture and be like, oh yeah, that's that cool character I was.
Yeah, I'm in the same thing. Like, because another cool element of Cakenomics that got made. Actually, no, sorry, it wasn't even Cakenomics. It was just something that someone was doing as a part of their, I think it was a university or TAFE assessment. And then basically just said, who wants to get on board and get them and pay real money and like have a set. It was the set of High Arcana tarot cards.
Oh, okay.
For the different illustrations of different Concordian characters, mid-act.
Yeah.
Anyway. And yeah, then I kicked myself for not putting my hand up to be one of those people, because that would have been fucking awesome. Because I bought a set. I still have that set. I use them quite a bit, actually. It's cool. It's just really, really cool. That thing, because like some of those characters that are on those cards are dead or retired now. Yeah. So it's like, yep, I
hold a bit of history.
Yeah, it's a bit of history. I have a collectible. it's really odd. Like, and I've seen the same thing of like people like coming up with like the same thing, like collectible cards of different Concordian heroes. Like, it's such a fun little odd idea. That again, it's just you wouldn't think people would want it, and then it happens, and then it sells out like hotcakes.
Yeah, and that just shows how Cakenomics really rewards those that are creative. And if you think of something unique and creative, then people can really jump on top of that. I know that one of the really big sellers at the moment, from what I'm aware, are maps. Like, maps sell quite well. And people, draw these nice, pretty maps, put borders on them, and then sell them on the auction, or they sell them just as a personal sale. And, you can make, a good, decent amount of money from that.
Yeah, I know someone else is doing, like, little, like, lore pamphlets for, like, sections of time of history, just because it's a two-hand write-up of information, rather than like having to go find someone that's written it all down on physical paper with ink, or just quickly skim through the wiki or whatever. Like, just here's a small booklet of the passage of time between this and the events that occur. It's handy little things like that. They just make what would be the term for it? Like convenience, like items of convenience like that. They can just make things a little smoother and a little easier. Absolutely, people are going to jump on that. 100%.
Yeah, like if someone was to collect and to make books like potion recipe books with like really nice pages, that would sell amazingly. Because people can, even if you're not like a potion crafter, you can go through and be like, oh, I really want to try and get this potion and all that kind of stuff. And just, and that adds to the game. And that, if you're a librarian and you want that book, maybe you go and ask that person and buy that book from them.
100%. Yeah, the wealth of opportunity that exists in Cakenomics, and is being discovered over time as well, is absolutely nuts.
It's limited only by your creativity. Honestly, I'm not very creative. That's why I was just like, I'm just going to do a sausage sizzle. But yeah, there's just so many different options that you can go for, and like the more variety there is, the better the game feels. The more realistic the game feels, because you don't just go to. There's not just one store that sells one thing. There's like lots of different merchants selling all these different things from all these different realms.
It's even better when like people lean into their realms. I don't want to say shtick. I guess vibe would be more accurate to the term. For some of the hospitality updates that the different realms have received, like it lists the kind of like alcohol that generally comes out of that realm. Like out of Greenweald comes like mead and vodka. A lot of ciders and beers come out of Bordevar, and occasionally wines. Like it's really cool to see stuff like that of like, here's some of the stuff that can come from there. Like for me, having brewed mead, I mainly only brewed mead because I like mead. But it being something that comes out of the Greenweald, for me, like thematically was even better, because I'm playing a character that very much likes and respects like Greenwealders immensely. So realizing, oh, cool, I'm technically brewing something from their realm is like, nah, that's an even more an even deeper connection there that was not there before. It's cool when the team adds those little things that then makes Cakenomics opportunities so much more flavorful and so much more meaningful. It's absolutely incredible. So would you say the state of Cakenomics as is good in general?
I think as we're getting more people and we're getting more games under our belt, it's only getting better. Because I remember the first game that happened, the first game that I went to, the first game that happened, period. I brought, a large chunk of fruit. So I had lots of different fruit, and I tried to sell that. And I did it for 2 seasons on summits seasons, and it didn't do too well. And, so I want to let people know that sometimes you come up with a really good idea and you think it's going to be good, and then it just doesn't work, and it doesn't become worthwhile. And that's what happened with me. I had all of these different fruits. I had watermelon, oranges, apples, because I wanted to bring like a little bit of fresh options for people. But I found that people either brought their own stuff, or in the first couple of games might have just hoarded their money because they didn't know what to do with it particularly. But I found that in the more recent games, so after those 2 games, I swapped over to a sausage sizzle, and it's been a lot more successful, especially in the last 2 summits. It's become a lot more successful because there's a lot more activity and there's a lot more people walking around. And with more players, there's more people that are like, oh, I'm going to go and walk around, and, if 10% of the players are at your store, then if you have 100 people, that's 10 people. If you have 300 people, that's 30 people. And then if you're getting people coming in, that might draw more attention. And so, look, as there's more people coming to Concord, that's more money on the table, which means that they might not be able to spend it on this or that. and I found that last game I sold out of all of my stock.
Mm-hmm.
So all of my sausages were eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that there are a lot of people in the game that are fine and happy to spend money for in-character things.
Especially because part of it as well is like you've got to. For my own, I mean, we'll kind of get into this a little deeper later, but like there is an approach to Cakenomics. There is sort of a good process worth doing, and it all really boils down to if you understand how business and marketing works, it translates to Cakenomics pretty much the exact same.
Yeah.
It's all about your marketing. It's all about paying attention to the market and paying attention to prices of competitors, for want of a better term.
Yes. Yeah.
I will say, a thing I've noticed with Cakenomics is it's like no one I've encountered as of yet has been what could be called cutthroat. Like no one's been hyper competitive as a player. But as a character is a very different thing, and that's its own thing.
Okay.
But as a player, no one's been an asshole.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely stellar. Like, yeah, okay, you might not make as much money on your thing as someone else, but no one's going to be a dick to you about it.
Yeah. And it's important to like, I run, a meal kind of a service, and if you want to do something like similar to that, like I'm happy with that. Like, you should try and compete with other people. Same with people making alcohol. You shouldn't feel like, oh, I don't really want to make alcohol because I don't want to step on this person's toes. It's like, well, make your own alcohol, make it specific to you and unique to you, and then, that will add to the game. Because at the moment, there are a lot of bars and like taverns and watering holes, whatever you want to call it, that are starting to pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more that happens, you can sell all of your alcohol to one tavern, and then that tavern is the only place where you can get your alcohol. Or you can sell it to a lot of different taverns, and then they all have your bottle on stock.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's all this variety, and it's important to make sure that everyone's aware that it's a game. We're all here to have fun, and we're not going to be upset if you're taking customers away from other people, because I think, from my opinion, that's what we want. Is we want competition, because competition breeds innovation. And so I wasn't doing too well with some of my stalls, and so I had to do some innovation. And what I did is I went to trainings, and I did the sausage sizzle, and I bought all the sausages and bread for the sausage sizzle at trainings, and was sort of like got the word out that this is what I do in game. And so that was one way of me advertising my business at trainings.
Absolutely.
To get people to know about that.
Yep. I did a similar thing for the brewing side of it, where we had a bunch of us that were getting into brewing. We're like, yep, in X trainings time, we will all gather and we'll essentially have a big, taste test thing, not just for us, but, for everyone. And that's exactly what happened. We all rolled up with different things, all tried different stuff. And it actually ended up being one of my favorite trainings I've been to so far, because it was very relaxed. It was very interesting to hear different takes on people's palates. It was even more surprising to hear as a confidence booster. And those that are looking into Cakenomics, like having little things like this that can boost your own confidence in your own product is invaluable, because hearing people like try my mead that really liked it from people that were also brewing it themselves, that were so much more experienced in brewing what I believed was a superior product to myself, was invaluable as a confidence booster that I really, really needed. That then led to, in doing that, I sold all of my brew to one tavern, and reportedly back from there, they only had like 4 or 6 bottles of it left by the end.
Wow.
Which is awesome.
How many bottles did you start with?
I believe it was 24.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 24 750ml bottles. Sold them all at a fixed price, and then basically just said, whatever you want to sell them by the drink for, that's you do you. It's not my problem anymore. I did implement my own, as others have done as well, a returns discount system. I have received 12 of them, so we'll see kind of where things go from there. And also worth noting with Cakenomics, you don't just have to go for raw coin. You can get other things. Like I got 2 drafts of Stormseeker because I was wanting to do Stormseeker for myself, and I had a friend in game that also was wanting to do Stormseeker. So I sort of facilitated them getting their Stormseeker. Sadly, I couldn't do it with them for reasons that I'd mentioned on previous episodes.
Right.
It would not have been a good idea for me to do Stormseeker with anyone.
You had a spiritual wound?
No. Oh. Well, yes, but worse.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, think of a spiritual wound without a card.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's one of those. Yeah, so yeah, you can get loads of different things. Like sometimes people will look at trading measures or wanes or items. You can get loads of different things. It's not always just coin. Coin feels the best. I'll agree. I like having a pouch full of money. It feels very, very nice. To just have that money and know that you have that money by your own effort. That feels great. But getting stuff is good too. And I like that that's starting to happen more now that I've noticed is people are spending coin, but people are also bartering materials and items and things like that. It's also really good to see.
Yeah.
Because, it's all, materials are essentially just currency that hasn't been liquefied yet. Or liquidated, rather.
The Concord uses keys and locks and vaults to sort of unify the country. But a lot of different groups would have originally started with just trading commodities. I've got a chicken. I'll trade this chicken for that slab of meat.
God, I can't wait for the day when someone turns up with a roast chicken. It's like, I'll trade this roast chicken for like that magic weapon. It's like, because you can get a bunch of like well-made roast chickens for like not a lot of money.
Yeah, okay.
This is the dumbest thought.
It's just about finding the customers for the roast chicken and keeping the roast chicken warm enough so that it's not gonna hurt anyone.
Yeah, no, of course, but it's that hilarious mental image of like, no, I'm exclusively going to buy and sell in chicken.
Look, there are a lot of different and interesting things that you can buy.
Absolutely.
Like, I think one of the most interesting things that I've seen sold. I mean, I love a good, bard and a good painting. And like I said before, I want to get a painting, picture, drawing done of my character. But honestly, I'm not sure how successful this is. But one of the more interesting things is going to have to be the kids that sell bones. I think Kim's daughter goes around and sells bones and puts them up on auction. Absolutely love it.
Yeah,
my nephew came up to me and was like, Johnny, or Ed Wolf, I think he was saying, because we were in game. It's like, look, I bought a bone, and I was like, oh, awesome, because he works and gets money from different ways, and he spent money on a bone, and he was so excited about his bone, and I was like, wow, look at that.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, of all the things I've come across being bought and sold, the weirdest one, is the bones. The fact that people just roll up and just buy bones.
Look. If you get a kid to sell anything, they're gonna be able to sell it. Like they could sell honky nuts. You know.
Oh no,
Kids are
I've come
adorable.
across like grown adults selling bones.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. It's weird
Look,
that it sells.
you can add it. You can add it to your costumes. It's an accessory.
Fair. That's fair. And like bone can also be used for like not even just accessories, but like all sorts of different things, props and whatever have you.
But no, it's like, look, if you've got kids and you get them to sell something, a lot of the time, if they do their cute kid face, they'll be able to sell it.
Oh yeah, they'll hustle you out of
take advantage of any kids you can.
Because they will take advantage of you.
Yeah. They'll do the face.
Yeah, you'll get hustled hard.
Yeah. There are some people that just can't say no to kids. Me, you know, I've got, what is it now? 6, 7 nieces and nephews. And then, you know, growing up with kids all through my life, I'm just immune to kids and their cute, adorable faces. I'm just like, I'm well versed in how this works.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. Yeah, the bones have definitely got to be the top of the list. So yes, so is there anything that isn't currently being done that you've seen for Cakenomics that you think would be either like, you know, if it's yourself something you'd like to try your hand at, or even just something you'd like to see being done for Cakenomics? Is there anything you can think of that isn't there now that you'd like to see?
I mean, one thing, I'm not sure how Cakenomics this is or isn't, but technically it would be selling a service. I would love to see a Concord bank, and where people can like take out loans and you know, store their money there and earn interest. That would be something that's really cool. You'd need to have a lot of money to do it because, you know, a bank would need to be able to
capital,
function, without money. But yeah, just to have a bank would be like something that's like a really fun idea to have.
Yeah, I definitely heard a couple of people talk about maybe getting a bank and such, and like I've also sat down, you know, done like a small write-up of like, this is generally how it would function, because it's also, you know, it isn't just, because you also got to consider the logistics of you know, you've also got to hold that money between games. You have to keep track of who has what interest. And, like,
lot of bookkeeping.
It's also security.
Yeah.
Thankfully, with how sort of dwellings work in Concord, that, you know, you don't enter someone's tent without their permission and all that jazz, and it, you know, there's the whole various other things and like the rules on boxes that if the lid is shut, it's considered locked. Like there's all interesting little things that when running something like that, you need to be aware of them, and then hopefully someone doesn't, you know, do a whoopsie and open one of those lids when they're technically not supposed to, which, you know, very well could happen, Murphy's Law. But yeah, a bank is definitely one of those. It would be interesting to see, but it would be a very tricky operation to run.
Yeah, you'd need to definitely have a team working towards it. Apparently, chat's saying that the Green World has a bank coming next summer.
Good for them.
So, yeah, look, it's a fun idea. It's going to create game. I can't wait to maybe make a deposit, maybe make a withdrawal.
I'm not gonna lie, I love that it's green-wheeled because it means I can actually trust it.
Oh,
like, not like legit.
Who would you not trust? What realm would you not trust as a bank?
Loranemir.
Yeah.
Like of all of
the
them,
revolutionaries.
Yeah, it would be Loranemir, and also like depending on who, like, it's also like it depends on who is also running the bank specifically. Is also a kicker, but like generally I'm like, no, if it's Greenwielders running it, if it's, I'm like, I've not come across any Greenwielders that have given me weird vibes. I think there was like maybe one or two, but I believe they've moved on to other realms now.
Okay.
So no, the fact that it's Greenwield is coming up with the bank, like, all right, yeah, I trust that.
Yeah,
I do.
I would probably say that Greenwield are probably the kindest realm. from my personal experience with interacting with everyone.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So,
And
know,
also,
yeah, well-
like, they, forgive me, but they kind of need it. Like, I donated 7 locks to the Weird last game, in honouring the Treaty of Last Pine, being the thing that started the Concord, culturally. And apparently, I heard later, that had a pretty damn big impact, like, on people. Not necessarily what they would do. I mean, it had an impact in their endeavors, but it had an impact on people just like being given that large sum of money out of nowhere, just out of kindness.
Yeah, it really created a game.
Yeah. So no, them having that bank, and I hope that bank tanks off. I really, really do, because they could definitely use the financial support in that sense as a realm.
Yeah.
Because, you know, banks got to take percentages and such.
No, yeah, banks should make money, and I hope that the people of the Concord don't get upset when the bank makes money.
Yep.
Because it is part of every business to make money. Don't get angry at people that make money, especially when they're working for it.
Yeah, the only thing you need to ever get angry at a bank for is when the banks fail.
Yeah.
That's the only time.
But then that's why the government steps in and bails them out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I propose that motion. If the bank ever goes under,
no,
we need Senate funds to pay off all the debts.
Right? No, I mean, oh god, that's also its own thing. Like the they put forward the motions for the what is it? The bonds is now a thing. There's a
yes.
Yeah, there's a Concordian. Okay, I'm gonna be straight up. I love that the government has set up a what's a lottery.
Investment?
The lottery.
Oh.
I love that. That's such a smart, that's such an easy way to just make money in terms of like government funding.
Yeah, I'm a little bit.
Oh yeah, I imagine you are a little bit miffed with that one.
Well, yeah, because I'd talked with a few people about starting a lottery, and yeah,
still can.
Luckily, what Concord are doing is more of a raffle, whereas what I'm planning on doing is more of a traditional lottery. So, I'll still run my lottery that I'll plan to do, and see if it gets any takers. I've already bought all of the stuff.
Yeah, I can't imagine it won't.
Yeah, I'll see how it goes. It stands for me to lose a lot of money, but I'm okay with that. I've got enough money where, I'm happy for me to lose a bit here and there. And if someone else gets it, then that's fun. That creates game for them.
Yeah, no, cool. I'm really happy to know that bank is going to be a thing. That's awesome, actually.
Yeah.
That might make some stuff easier than I'm planning on doing, actually. But no, go ahead, sorry.
No, another really fun, crazy idea is having a, what's it called?
Oh, no.
A publicly traded company where you sell stocks on the auction. That would be hilarious. Stock
of what?
So you would write up a document saying that this is a stock of a particular company.
Okay.
Say for instance, the roads get built.
Mm-hmm.
And they get built and they have, stocks or whatever. You can buy a stock of the roads and then you take home some dividends and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. But if you have a company, like my sausage sizzle business, if I sell stocks from that on the open market, that would be fun. A fun idea.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just something that I sort of had pop up into my mind and be like, ooh, imagine having an actual publicly traded company with shareholders and everything.
Mm-hmm. I mean, personally, so I'll be fully honest. The second I heard someone ages ago wanting to do like bonds as a thing, I immediately, like, both vocally and like almost viscerally, like, I guess mentally, I suppose would be the term, like rebelled that immediately. It's like, oh god, I hate that so much. I'm not even fully sure why, because like having read how the bonds are functioning now that they are in place, like they're not bad. It's a way to put money into the Concordian treasury quickly, in theory.
Yeah.
But the problem is you have to pay out that money plus 25% per bond.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's gonna end badly for everyone.
How do you mean?
So, okay. You can buy a bond for a lock, and it will, when it comes up, you can get it back for 12 keys.
Yeah.
Right? So if 200 people buy 200, in total, 200 bonds, that's 200 locks that go into the treasury. Right? That's a lot of money. You would think. It's really not. It's not even 10 volts. But the problem is, you now have to pay every single one of those back with interest.
Yeah.
It's not a lot, but in mass quantity, it is. Like, that's another.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't get paid back straight away though.
No,
it gets paid back over time.
No, but it implies you're putting in this money to help it. Like, it is the case of you will be paid back that money. And
the Concord is taking on debt.
Yeah, and I don't think that's gonna go. I don't think it's gonna go well in the end.
I think, look, I don't know how well it will go. It's something that's happening. We'll see. It all very much depends on the rate of inflation. But seeing as everyone continues to bring in the same amount of money, inflation shouldn't hit it too hard, where it makes it a bad investment. So it should still be a good investment. And as the Concord economy starts to be a lot more secure, hopefully, then it's a lot easier to pay back those bonds.
Yeah.
Because that's the thinking behind it, is that we're sort of struggling at the moment, so we need a little bit of cash injection. And so this is what the Senate has come up with to try and fix that problem. Just pass it on to that's tomorrow's problem.
Yeah, but that's my worry, is this is a band-aid solution that's gonna end up not going the way they think. I really don't think this is gonna. I think this is gonna end up being a bad thing in the end. I think it's gonna be much worse. But that's its own thing. I could not stop myself from talking about that, because that's kind of a big thing, and it does.
Yeah.
It does, like, sort of relate to Cakenomics, because I know there were people talking about setting up bonds within their own sort of out of their own sphere, for want of a better term. And it being something that the Senate has picked up and put forward is definitely a thing. But like, and even in the same vibe of that with like stock trading, like, I could see stock trading. I could see it starting. I don't know how much it would catch on, because that's a whole, like, the implication with stock trading is that if one person does it, everyone does it. And that's the only way it really works. But if literally only one person is doing it, the people that buy into that stock end up getting cash out from the worth of stock and such. But the hope would then be, when people see that those people are making money, that everyone then does it. The problem I see with that is, then you have people that don't want to do that, then that feels like, or could feel, potentially, like they are missing out on an element of game. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think Cakenomics has always been, it is what you put in. So if you only put in a little bit, you get a little bit out, and then the more you put in, the more that you're going to get out.
Fair point. Yeah, so I guess I'm sadly to continue the negative train, choo choo, as it were. What downsides have you seen with Cakenomics overall?
All right. Well, out of character, it costs money a lot of the time.
Sure.
So you're spending money on a ticket. You're spending money on your tent to get that all up. You're spending money on your costume. It's another cost. Whether you're doing paintings, whether you're crafting things and spending a lot of time when you're home, or whether you're spending a lot of money, it costs a lot. And that's probably the biggest downside of doing Cakenomics, is the financial and time consumption of it all. In character-wise, there are going to be players and characters that do not like you if you are rich or if you have a lot of money. And I've been chastised by several people saying that I should be giving all of my money to the hospital, or I should be giving all of my money to this cause that they feel very passionately about. And so it is an in-character sort of struggle to come to terms with the fact that you're not going to help everyone, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I would absolutely agree. There is that thing of...
There's that pressure.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it is that pressure. And sometimes, that pressure comes from people, like outward sources. Sometimes that pressure comes from yourself as well. That thing of like...
100%, yeah.
Like, my exact thing of like... My big thing for wanting to go into Cakenomics and make money was... Okay, yeah, it was, an idea of like, I'll get into brewing. Like, this would be an interesting thing to do just as a hobby. But for Concord specifically, it was get money so I can do stuff. But part of that doing stuff is to find people that don't have a lot of money, that have things they need to do, that they feel very passionately about, that they feel is very important, and give them the money to do that with no hesitation and no worry, and no I'm not expecting, most of the time, I'm not expecting anything back from them, because that's not the point. So, it's definitely a case of like, the more money you have, there's more you can do in a broad scope, but there's also more you can do for specific things as well. You have this pot of coin that you can pour into other pots, but then how much do you pour into those pots? Can you pour it into every single pot? And is that actually going to be worth it in the end? And that's just internal pressure. Like, the external pressure is the same, because then you got people, exactly as you say, they're saying, you should just be giving your money to these things. And whether or not they're right or wrong is its own point, and its own point of discussion. But it is the pressure. The pressure is one of the biggest things that can kind of really hit you in moments you don't expect.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to sort of get out there that, if you're pressuring these people with money because that's part of your character, that's totally fine. And, we all encourage the role play. I'm not saying to stop doing it. But if you're someone that emotionally struggles with those kind of decisions, then that's going to be difficult to be like, should I give money to the war effort so that they can buy all these potions? Should I reinvest this money so that I can get more money so that I can perhaps build a school of magic? There's all of these different things that have to be taken into consideration as to how is your money best spent for you? Because at the end of the day, we all want the Concord to succeed, and we all are going about it in different ways. And some of us are using Cakenomics to inflict change.
I agree. I would say definitely something I would like to see, sort of talking on the whole pressuring and the emotional side of it, like something I definitely would like to see a little bit more. Not that I've seen this happen too negatively, but it's still worth raising, is people that are pressuring in-character people that have a lot of money to donate and give to these services, like, especially if you're being very, very enthusiastic and very energetic and very passionate about these things, make sure you check yourself after that of, was I just really, really pushy? And go and check with that other player, like do a check-in with that other player. Like make sure they are okay, make sure you did not, like, for want of a better term, like panhandle or solicit them too hard, because God knows there are people that do this in the real world that are very, very pushy, that they very, very much, they like emotionally blackmail you. I've definitely had this happen to me a couple of times, and I hate it. I definitely do not like it. So yeah, make sure if you've done that, make sure you do check in with that person, because whilst it is a game and whilst you are talking about fake currencies and these sort of in-game issues, bear in mind you are effectively still, in a way, you are panhandling and soliciting. Whether or not you have good intentions is irrelevant. Make sure you check in with yourself if you were too pushy or felt like you were too pushy, and check in with that person to make sure they're okay. Because, emotionally blackmailing someone with stuff like that, even a fake sort of imaginary situation,
fantasy,
is still it's still bad. It can still be very, very triggering.
I think you need to what was I going to say? You know when you're about to say something and then it disappears?
Yeah.
Right, is he going to say it?
Yep.
Go on. Like a breath on a mirror. No, I remembered it.
Good.
So whenever you're having intense roleplay, it's important to take them aside, like afterwards or even beforehand, and talk about it. So I know that when I intend to do intense or aggressive roleplay with someone, I'll usually speak to them beforehand and give them a heads up, being like, hey, my character's got an issue with you, so if they act negative towards you, this is why, and then sort of set boundaries and say, look, if there's anything that I do that you really don't like out of character, just take me aside and we can work out a proper way to engage in it all. And that's the same with all of that sort of thing, is that you need to make sure that everyone's having a good time, because we're doing this on our holidays, we're doing this in our time off, we're doing this because we love it.
We're doing this
if someone's not having fun, in my opinion, no one's having fun.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah,
it's the same thing of the whole the heavy roleplay sort of guide, I believe, that is still on the WA LARP page. I think it's also been linked on the Concord page as well. Bear in mind, for that is to be applied in a variety of situations, and I think in sort of the Cakenomics, in that kind of space of it, I think it definitely needs to be remembered and observed. I'm not saying that someone has aggressively panhandled, solicited, or been very emotional about that with someone to pressure them into giving money, and that's had an adverse effect. I actually don't know if it has, but it's still the case of it just because I've not come across it doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Yeah. So I've personally definitely had people mention a few things to me that made me feel a little bit guilty. I'm fine with that kind of roleplay, and I encourage it because it makes me as a character grow and really understand my priorities and what I want to achieve. So I find it quite good, but it does make me feel sad. Both in real life and in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm like, I'm not giving to the hospital and they don't have any money to do this, or this group needs these funds to help these poor refugees or whatever.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat of I just because I as a player that feeling that sucks, but it's also, again, in the same boat. I take it as a part of the game. Definitely having the check-in, because I've had, of recent had much more somewhat intense role-playing engagements, and I've had people check in, and it actually is really nice, because it's that, hey, you're okay, and it kind of like takes you out of that a little bit and go, all right, yep, nope, it's fine, and you sort of go about it. I still really like that intense roleplay because it feels to me more immersive, and stuff like this as well. It's more immersive, but definitely that check-in I have felt helps sort of break that player, sort of that character to player bleed through.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm trying to do more as a player for other people, because I've been more lax in that space than I should have been. Very much so.
Yeah.
No, it's...
I will say one other small, not really downside, more of a consequence. Just going off of the question that you asked. It takes time in game as well, which is time away from doing something else.
Yeah.
I've always sort of figured it as there are a few different pillars of the game that you can participate in. So like economy, politics, fighting and conflict, the hospital, and all of these different aspects of the game, the church, the shard circle. You can't do everything. And so if you're doing Cakenomics, that's going to mean that you can't do something else.
Yeah, it's going to be a part.
You can do one other thing maybe, but if you're doing Cakenomics, it's Cakenomics and something else.
Yeah, like it's you are of your game slots. One of those is Cakenomics. Like you need to accept one of them is that.
Yeah, if you want to pursue Cakenomics, so it's like if you're doing Cakenomics and you're going, quite involved in it. If you're just making ale and selling it to a tavern at the start of game, then you don't have to do anything about it, like in game. But if you're at game hustling, that's going to take up time away from participating in other things. But anything you do is going to take away from participation.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just a case of like, it's just how it is with like a lot of things of, if you go into a new endeavor in a very big way, it's going to take up a big chunk. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
No, definitely, no. Fair point. Absolutely fair point. So I would ask sort of the other side of that, what upsides of Cakenomics have you really seen? But we kind of answered that. Like, it just makes the game feel much more lived in, much more lively, much more real.
Yeah, I mean, having a coin purse that jingles is an amazing feeling. The face some people give you when they see how much money you have is also quite fun. When you secretly take them into your tent and open your chest, and they're like, "Wow, that's a lot of keys." That's always fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. Last game when I was sitting with what was it, just over 11 locks, and just going like, "Oh, you have this money," and then having those in the tent with me go like, "Oh, that's so much money," or even just hearing my in and out of game friends go like, "Oh, I just made X amount of locks," like, "Oh, that's so cool." It's so great to hear these big sums of money being made and traded. Yeah, okay, you can come across people that's like, "Oh, I just made 15 locks, 20 locks," what these what I would refer to as much more ludicrous sums of money. But even just making 3 locks on something is that is to the majority of the Concord, that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's
most people only start with 10 keys, and that's all the money that they get.
Yeah, so it's why I often say because I think I'm still sitting with like 8 or 9 locks. Like I often say, like, no, of wealthy
Impressive.
people in the Concord, yeah, I could be considered wealthy within the Concord. I'm not
Yeah.
the 1%. I'm definitely not 1%.
Maybe the 10%.
Yeah, but like maybe like the top 10, 25%, something within that range. And
Yeah.
that's with like just under 10 locks. Like when if I were to take the money I had, and technically made, and let's say I didn't sell it or anything, I
Yeah.
had over 20 locks.
Yeah.
I had a really
Which
good
is
amount
almost a
of money.
vault.
Yeah, like it was scary. Like I was calculating everything down of like, yeah, if I do this, 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 and this, and I have this money, like it all planned to, if I did not spend anything and I just had all that money for all my endeavors that I wanted to do that game, I had over a vault. But I
Wow.
just spent and traded and deals went different ways and all bunch of different stuff. And it's crazy that the potential of that money was there.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, it's much like the real world. It is the potential of that coin. And
Yeah.
in a weird way, it's like, I don't know, much like yourself, right? It's that dragon sickness. It's that, like, you see all that money and like, oh, I could do so much with that money. And then it's like,
Yeah.
it gives you something to do. Because that's also a thing with Cakenomics as well, as an upside, is that is, because as we've talked about, it is a part of the game. It is a kind of game that you can chase and you can go on the grind for. Like, you can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
And it has real,
I mean, last game,
benefit.
the Durays were able to fund the School of Magic.
Yeah.
Like most of it.
Yep.
They had to get a few other help here and there, but essentially they used a lot of their funds to, get the School of Magic to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Another School of Magic.
Yeah.
And so, they were able, because largely in terms of Cakenomics, to influence the game as a whole. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that, being involved in Cakenomics really grants you. Because I'm not rich in real life. I like money, but I like coming to Concord and feeling like a wealthy person, feeling like a rich person.
Yeah.
So a few things that because last game was probably the first game I actually felt like rich and wealthy, because there are a few things that I did that was like, oh, this is fun. So I was, there was a delegate that came from the Dendar, and I was the ambassador. And we went to the auction. And he was, we just went there halfway through. And there was one of the kids that I knew was sitting down. And so I gave them some money if they would stand up and let him sit down. And so, she stood up and, was very happy to get a little bit of money. And then he was able to sit down and enjoy a part of the auction. Mm-hmm. And, that sort of made me feel very much like, oh yeah, I'm paying money for people to do things to make my life easier. Mm-hmm. And then, I was at the tavern and I paid a few people to move and to like clear a table because I wanted to sit down. Mm-hmm. And so, that also made me feel special because I was able to, get what I wanted.
Yeah.
And pay people to do things.
Yeah, definitely having that money can give you opportunities and sort of a method of doing things in the game. And like, you can get there, like you can get a lot of things with smiles and being nice, or even just like being very shifty and backstabby. Like,
yeah,
there are avenues of doing a lot of different things in this game. But one of those avenues, and an absolutely valid one, is just money. Just throw money at people and at things. As a player, maybe not as government, that's its own kettle of fish. We're not going to go into, just throwing money at a problem until it goes away. But like, definitely as a player, like, having money nets you a lot of opportunities in a wide, as you've just displayed, in a wide variety of different things. Like,
It opens doors. It opens
does.
so many doors.
Yep, it opens doors. It, as we already discussed, it makes buildings.
Yeah.
And institutes. Like, you definitely, if someone had an absolute crap ton of capital, they could, as there are various services in Concord, they could afford to pay a lot of different services in the Concord for a lot of different things. Like, if they wanted to outfit, hire, and sort of have the loyalty of a very magically well-armed, troop of guards, they could do that with money, like a good amount of money. They could keep a troop stocked with magic gear and pay and assurances that they are going to do their job, and you could do a scary amount with a lot of money. You could get a lot of power, as the past year or two have really displayed. DeRays and various other influential figures with a lot of coin and a lot of capital is, if you can get a good amount of money, it's scary the kind of stuff you can do, both benevolent, benign, and unsavory, to put it in a certain way. But there's a lot that money can do. It's wild. And it adds more to, as I've always said, Concord is a microcosm of a society, and it really does reflect real life in a lot of aspects. And one of is, as I've said, money. Like, much like in the real world, if you have billions and billions of dollars, you can do pretty much anything you want.
Yeah.
It's terrifying because
it's fun. Like people come to you and say, "Look, I'm looking for funding to do this sort of thing," and I've helped a few people achieve goals, and I've made a lot of friends by having the funds to help support those people in doing certain things, and then they've been like, "Oh, you're cool. You've trusted me with this," and so that's you're playing game to people, and it's there is a really good feeling when like what you did when you gave that money to the Green World, and and that changed people's games, and that made people feel so much better. And so while the downside is sometimes you feel crappy about not giving money to some people, sometimes you feel really good when you give money to other people or other pursuits.
Absolutely. So moving, I guess, to the next kind of question, really, different tips and tricks and different things like that. Like, a lot of what we've talked about over these subtopics, like, there really is a lot to be gleaned here and gained here as people wanting to get into Cakenomics. Really is, as I said briefly prior, is observe the market, get an idea of the selling points or the selling costs, and then make sure people observe your wares. Whether you're making food, if you had the opportunity to bring that to a training, do that. Obviously, observe, health guidelines and precautions and such. Make sure you do that. Very, very important. Same thing for drinks. Again, be observant of the law and such. But get your product to people. Post pictures on the Facebook and Discord groups. Make sure people can see the things you're making, and even more, have them in front of them in person, because it means they have a tangible understanding of what you're doing. And then when you bring it to go in and make sure people know where to find you, and you're getting out and about, you're making sure people can see what you're selling, and then just go from there. And don't be afraid, as John said, and I agree, don't be afraid to fail, because that just leaves the door open for innovation to go, all right, observe what went wrong, and as I would say, fail upward. Use it as a springboard.
No, yeah, I agree completely. Like, you are going to make mistakes. You're going to do deals that maybe weren't as beneficial, but learn from it. See how you can grow with the game.
Mm-hmm.
The game is changing every single time. I was set up right next to the Senate, and then the Senate moved, and then I moved, and I'm going to be building a permanent structure in the near where streets are all at, and so it's about evolving, changing to make the most of it all. I think my biggest tip for people wanting to get into it all is working as a team. If you are working with two friends, that is like a huge boon, because as a notice, person. So if you have two friends, potential time that's required to be there, and then you can and my skills, and I wouldn't be able to engage in politics there. Entire so I have also a lot more your friends and family. This in a lot of need to diversify. Forms of income, whether that's by selling things at auction, so making jewelry, doing different, like selling belts, or lessons, selling
Sorry, I just have my random kid. If I
my main work team,